Welcome to day 7 of Instant Pot Week. This is the last day. I can't believe we've gotten to the last day already. But this is part 2, and today we're talking about desserts. Earlier on A Mindful Mom, Kristen talked about how to make creme brulee in the Instant Pot. And it was in like such little amount of time, and it looked incredible. I really wish that Derry and I were friends because I'd be eating this a lot more. I do have creme brulee every so often in a restaurant because a lot of times creme brulee is one of the only gluten-free options. So, you know, if you have gluten-free or friends or somebody that are coming over that needs a gluten-free option, that is one to definitely look at. So go check out her page for that. I'm just going to refresh, as usual, my comments over here so that way I make sure that I get them from you. And if for some reason you come on live and I'm not saying hi to you, I don't know why Facebook shows me some of the comments and some don't, but I apologize if I don't say hi to you live while you're on. But as with the other videos throughout this week, if you comment after during the replay, I will make sure that I get back to you with any questions that you may have or just saying hi. So let's get started for today. First of all, hey Kristen. Kristen is my partner in this, and as I said, she's over at A Mindful Mom. So today, I've got my handy partner here, my son Nathan, and he's going to help out today. He wanted to be here because he wants to say hi to his teacher who might be watching this later. She doesn't look she's like on live now, but you can say hi so that if she's watching later, she'll see you. So you want to say hi?
Hi.
What, you want to say hi?
Okay. Hi, Mrs. Rock.
So Nathan's going to help me make this cake today. So we're making chocolate cake in an Instant Pot. It's pretty incredible, and I don't know if you're able to see this, but yeah, it's really hard to see, but it is like, I hate to use this word because I know everybody hates this word, but it's moist. It's just like, it's such a not dry cake, and it's so good. And it is paleo and gluten-free and dairy-free, but don't let that stop you if you are not paleo because it is so delicious. It kind of is like a really good brownie, like a fudgy brownie. And I've served things like this to people that are not paleo before, and they've loved it. So I think it's just something that, it just uses almond flour instead of white flour. So, you know, it's not something that like is so out there that might turn other people off. So give it a chance if you're not paleo. Anyway, I did want to mention too, earlier this week, Kristen showed us how to make ground beef, frozen ground beef in the Instant Pot. And last night, of course, you know, like, I guess I've been so busy this week, I went to go make our empanadas for dinner last night and realized that I had forgotten to take ground beef out of the freezer. And I needed 1 pound of cooked ground beef into taco meat. And so I used Kristen's method, and it worked perfectly. So I advise you, if you haven't tried that yet, just, you know, Kristen showed you in a video, I think it was day 3 of this, to how to do that, and it works so great, and it was so quick, and I was really, really happy. So thank you, Kristen. So, yes, as Kristen says, paleo cakes are incredibly moist, and she loves them. That's good, and she likes to see you too. So, I guess we can go ahead. Oh, let me just explain a little bit why you would want to make a cake in the Instant Pot too, because when I first started like researching this, I was like, why would you want to do that? Like, if you have a perfectly good oven, why would you not want to do that? Well, I mean, one is you don't have to heat up your oven. So if it's in the middle of the summer and you don't want to have to deal with that, that's a great time to use it. And like, I mean, a lot of times ovens take a lot of energy and they can heat up the house. So that's one way. But if you're in like a dorm room or an apartment that doesn't have an oven, or like a tiny house, I'm obsessed with tiny houses, by the way. So I watch those shows all the time, and I know a lot of you don't have ovens. Tiny houses, or like an RV, or if your kitchen's under remodel or something, it could be a perfect time to use it. And then if your oven's occupied, like say during a holiday or a dinner party, then you have your oven with something else, you can make your cake in the Instant Pot. Yep. It's another time. And then I think, oh yeah, and then one of the other things I've noticed is a lot of times when you make a cake in the oven, you get to the end of the cooking time and you stick a toothpick in it, it doesn't come out right. Like, it's still not done. So you have to put it back in for another 5 minutes. And then you sit down, and then you have to get back up again and put it in, and it's still not done for 5 more minutes. And you keep going through this process, especially if your oven's like mine and it doesn't run consistently. So this is a really good consistent method because it seems to like perfectly each time. And let's see. Hi, Sammy. Nice to see you. And then Another thing too is, again, it comes out incredibly not dry. I'm not going to say the word anymore. It comes out incredibly not dry, and it's really, really good. I will say with this though, paleo baked goods tend to only be good for like 1 to 2 days typically. You don't really want to go too much longer past that, and I have found that as well with this Instant Pot cake. So it initially comes out not dry, but it does start to dry out after you go like a day or two. So it's best served warm, first of all, so you can either rewarm it or right out of the Instant Pot, and then within a day or two. So let's go ahead and get started into making this, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna set it. So I'm gonna show you, it's gonna make a 6-inch cake like this. And that is one constraint of an Instant Pot that you can't do like in an Instant Pot versus an oven, is that you have to do just a 6-inch round one if you're using a 6-quart Instant Pot. Can't do anything bigger, and you can only do one layer at a time. So if you're trying to make a layer cake and then ice it and that kind of thing, you're better off just doing it in the oven if you can. So I'm gonna set this over here. All right. So the first step is that you're going to want to put some parchment paper in the bottom of your 6-inch round cake pan. And I have done it without that, and it doesn't release from the pan as well. So this is just like baking. A lot of this is going to be just like if you're familiar with baking in the oven. It's going to be very similar. But so in case you haven't done this, to make a parchment to fit in here, you take the pan, you set it down on a piece of parchment paper, and then not with the lid side, but the bottom side down. Take a pen, and hopefully you can see this, and then you trace around the pan. So now I have a circle on the pan, or on the parchment paper, and I'm just going to cut just inside the line. My Vanna White over here is showing. Demonstrating for you what you're doing. Okay, throw that there. And so you'll see that it fits inside there perfectly, right? And then you're gonna just wanna grease it. I just take a little piece of hardened coconut oil, get this out of the thing here, and then I just run it on the bottom, like this. Just to grease the bottom of the pan on the parchment, and then just go around the sides a little bit too as well. Sammy says she's hungry. All right, so now everything is greased and ready to go. So I'm gonna set this aside. It's just best to prepare your pans when baking, just if it's an oven or an Instant Pot, because once you put baking soda or baking powder into a wet mixture, it starts activating and it starts doing its job, and you don't want that to sit there for hours and hours and hours or a long time. You want it to do that while in the cooking mechanism. So we're gonna go ahead and set this aside. All right, so now, okay, watch out, I'm coming back. Let's see. Hey, Buddy. See, now, today I got Buddy's comment here, and Buddy's been joining us every single broadcast, so thank you so much, Buddy, for joining us, and I'm so glad that you're here again today, and that I got to see your comment. All right, so here I've already pre-melted 1 cup of chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips. And you can use Nestle if you don't care about dairy or soy or anything. And if you are concerned about dairy or soy, I like to use the Enjoy Life chocolate chips. They're dairy, nut, and soy free, so they're really good for a lot of allergies. And their packaging doesn't look like this anymore. It's actually teal now, but it's still pretty similar. And the logo looks like this. So just in case you're concerned about that and want to get dairy, nut, and soy free, get the Enjoy Life ones. So you're going to use 1 cup of those, and then a 1/4 cup of coconut milk, or a dairy-free milk, or just a regular milk if dairy is not a concern for you. If you watched me yesterday, you saw that I kind of ran out of coconut milk because I was using it for making all my yogurt. So I used silk almond milk, which is just fine. I mean, you just need some sort of milk kind of thing. So I mixed those together on the stove in a saucepan over low heat and until they were melted. And I feel like I just got a new comment, but I don't see them. let the child help you. I will let him, don't worry. Once we get to the actual mixing of the stuff. But so this is the mixture of this. If you don't have a stove because of all the aforementioned things like a college dorm or something like that, you could do this in your Instant Pot, but I would do it with water on the bottom, set like with that rack, with this rack here, set over the water, and then mixing all of this in like a glass bowl on the saute function. Don't put it directly on the bottom of the bowl because you're going to burn your chocolate. And technically, I probably should melt this in a double boiler over the stove, but I stand over it, so I've never had it burn. But if you're the kind of person who is not very attentive and forgets about things, do it in a double boiler. So I mixed the chocolate and the milk, and then when that was done, I put in 2 tablespoons of palm shortening. And just to show you, real quick, palm shortening, I know a lot of people are not familiar with. You want to make sure you get a sustainably harvested one. So I either use this Tropical Traditions one, and it's really hard to see. So Tropical Traditions, or the Nutiva. This is a red palm oil shortening. So these are trans fat free, and so you don't have to worry about those kind of things. Just don't use like Crisco, because I don't think that's sustainably harvested or trans fat free. So you need this. Oh, that's over there. Okay. So let's see if I have any comments at the moment. No, I don't think so. Okay. All right, so I've already melted those. I'm gonna set that aside. And you let that cool for a little while. All right, so now we're gonna mix the dry ingredients into a different bowl. So, helper, can you put in 1 cup of almond flour? Now I get my almond flour, you can put it in there. I get my almond flour from Honeyville, but if you can get it on, I know Honeyville sometimes has it at Costco as well, but I get it online. Or Anthony's makes a good one, and you can get that on Amazon, I know, for pretty decent price. And Anthony's makes a lot of the gluten-free paleo flours that I really like. The next one is a half teaspoon of baking soda. You can put that in there. Okay, so I'm gonna make a caveat with this one. I have not tested this recipe at sea level, so you may wanna add closer to a teaspoon if you're at sea level, just because of the way that the Instant Pot works. I am 54'30", I think, about in feet in height, because I'm up in Colorado. And I don't usually have problems having to adjust recipes. And so that's why I'm kind of not sure about with this one, if you're gonna wanna use a half teaspoon or a teaspoon. Because I usually just do whatever the recipe says, and I've never had issues with mine deflating or anything. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that one. So, maybe try a teaspoon and see how it goes. Okay. Now we're gonna do a half teaspoon of sea salt. And then 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar. Now that's important if you're paleo, just to use a not cane sugar. But if you are not paleo or don't really care about that, then you can use regular cane sugar is fine too. You could also skip it if you'd rather, because the semi-sweet chocolate chips are pretty sweet, but this is just to give it a little bit more sweetness. So then, it's best to just mix it with a fork. So you want to go ahead and mix that for me, please? All right, so we're going to mix that with a fork, and while he's doing that, I am going to show the rest. So then I have 2 eggs that have been cracked, and I'm just going to beat them with a fork as well, just until the yolks break. And then I'm going to add that to my chocolate mixture. If you've ever made brownies, this is very similar to the brownie process too. So I'm going to add that into here, and that's one reason why you want your chocolate mixture somewhat cooled before you put it in there. Otherwise, you're going to, cook your eggs, and nobody wants scrambled eggs in their brownies. And then I'm going to add to you. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and mix all of these together. There, we got that one mixed.
Yeah.
And then you see I'm mixing this. Just until they're pretty much uniformly mixed. All right, so now you can't really see the eggs anymore. So I'm gonna put them into here, into the dry ingredients, scrape it all out. You could do it the opposite way too. You could put the dry into the wet. It really doesn't matter.
Doggy barking.
What's new? Our dog's always barking. If you follow my vlog, you'll see that my dog has had some medical issues lately, and so he's been on kind of bed rest now for, about 3 months now, and the only thing he can do is bark. It's kind of annoying. So you see, now I'm just kind of folding it in, and in case you're not familiar with folding, I'm just turning the spatula and then turning it around and like pulling up the ingredients and just kind of gently putting them together. You don't want to like mix it really hard. You just want to gently mix them together until the dry ingredients are incorporated into the wet. And then once you don't see the almond flour anymore, you're pretty good. And I think you're pretty good to go. And then you'll get your pan that you had set aside earlier, and you're going to just pour the mixture into it. Is he drooling over there yet? Because this is typically, I'm talking about the kid, not the dog.
Doggy the vlog.
All right. So then if you need to, just kind of spread it out so that way it's completely flat and all on all sides of your pan. Give spatula to son because that's why he's really here. And then, all right, try that off. Let's see. Sammy says, good job. Okay, so now for the cooking part. So like if you were doing this in an oven, you would just stick this in the oven, right? So doing it with an Instant Pot is slightly different, but not much. So bring this over here. So I'm gonna take the lid off. What you're gonna wanna do is put in liquid into the bottom of your Instant Pot, which is no different than any other pressure cooked recipe that we've shown you this week. I like to put in 2 cups. I think Kristen said 1 cup is sufficient. I've just learned to do cakes with 2, and I'm just afraid to not do it with 2, but you know, it's water, it's free, right? And then you're gonna wanna put this wire trivet or steamer basket or whatever you have to keep the cake off the bottom of the Instant Pot. And then you're gonna put this into the Instant Pot like that. Now, you can cover it with aluminum foil, and I've done both. I don't know if I necessarily like the aluminum foil on top. It does sometimes catch the top of the cake, and then the cake will stick to it. It does seem to come out a little bit less dry, a little bit. Not enough for me to actually want to say, put it on there. But if you're finding it's coming out a little dry, then feel free to put it on there. I wouldn't bother. So I just put it in like this. Turn the Instant Pot on, put the lid on. Look at that, I'm getting really good at putting it on backwards. Put the valve back here to sealing. And then I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to do manual and then adjust it up to 40. Okay, adjust that back. And then I'm just going to leave it. And it takes about 10 minutes, at least up here a mile high in the sky, to come to pressure. So it might be a little less for you. And then it's going to cook for 40, and then when it beeps, you let it naturally release. So that means don't turn the handle up here, the valve, for 10 minutes. And then you can release the rest of the pressure if there is any still left. And then I would take it out and then leave it for about 10 to 15 more minutes before you want to remove it from the pan. And then when you do want to remove it from the pan, just use a butter knife around the outside of the cake. And then just take a plate. I'll show you. We're gonna have my plate. Here, hold.
Just use my hands, not the plate.
Here's the one from I did today. So I would take a plate, put it over like this, and then turn it like that. And then it should release the cake as you remove it. That was the old pan from this morning. So yes, that I believe is everything for the cake. So you should have a delicious cake when you are done, and something that would be great for Valentine's Day, or just any day, because I made it a lot this week, right?
And then you can put it in the heart shape and then put it in a cardboard box. Then send it to somebody that you want to send it to.
Yeah, you can do that too. This is delicious with a little coconut whipped cream, which if you go to the recipe that I have for today, I did that, and it's just, you just take a can of coconut or of coconut cream, and then you whip it with a hand mixer, and then add a little maple syrup and vanilla extract, and mix that again, and until it's like whipped, and then put that on top. Fresh berries, and it was delicious. It was just a really good, yummy dessert. That's all I have to say about that. Kristen said she's gonna make this ASAP. That's good. So, one thing that we have for you is that we've been doing a giveaway all week of an Instant Pot, and every day everyone's been entering in the word of the day. Well, we have the winner now, so I'm going to go ahead and announce that. Let's see if, can you say that name? The winner is...
Sherry.
So you say it really loudly?
Sherry Bendorf.
Yes, Sherry Bendorf is the winner. Sherry, if you're watching this, I will get back to you with an email with all the details of how to get your Instant Pot. We'll be sending that to you. And let's see, anything else? I just want to say thank you so much for everybody that has been watching, and I really hope you have learned a lot. I know I have learned a lot, and I want to say thank you to Kristen for partnering with me for this, because I did a lot of research before this, but even then, I still had no idea how to use a lot of parts of the Instant Pot. So even when I was doing this, I was still a little intimidated, I have to say. But now I feel so comfortable with this thing. And like I said last night, I just pulled it out to make ground beef, and I just feel like it's now really a workhorse in my kitchen. And I truly will make this one of the first things that I go to, instead of having to pull out a slow cooker all the time or something like that. So if you haven't watched all the rest of the videos, go back and do so, because they are so helpful, and I think you'll learn so much about how to use this thing. And if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask. You can either write them here in the comments here, or email us, reply to the emails from what we've been sending out all week, just any of those kind of methods, and we'll get back to you. And thanks, Kristen. I'm glad you learned too. And let's see, anything else? If you have not watched the rest and you want to sign up, I have a link in the description to sign up, and you will get recap emails tomorrow from both Kristen and I with all of the recipes that we shared, as well as links to all the replays, so that you can watch them again or get any of the recipes that you may have missed. I know some of you, I forwarded the emails, but this way you'll be able to get everything you need. So sign up at the link in the description. And let's see, I just want to make sure I have no other questions before I sign off here. There's a little bit of a delay, so I'm just letting you guys give a chance if there is. And I'm just going to scroll through, since I've seemed to have missed a few of these the last few days.
Mom, was that cake that we had with my friend Bo?
Yep, that was that. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You liked it? We served this to his friend the other day, and he liked it too. So, all right. Well, I don't see anything else, so I just want to say thank you. And if you usually watch my Tuesday morning show, I'm not going to actually be doing that this coming week, because I have to do his school Valentine's Day party. So I'm going to be missing that, but I'll be back the week after that. So I will see you guys all later, and thanks again.
What is that?